This nightmare is coming true, friends. We got flesh on robots. We got a mega store starting to build housing integrated with its stores. Absolutely crazy. We got craziness happening over in Europe, in Rome. We got the anti-crime units attacking journalists. We have for hate speech. We got France. People being attacked for showing the French flag. It's not just the American flag, friends. It's any nation's flag that is all hateful nowadays, apparently. Iran is starting to talk about developing a nuclear weapon openly and threatening and blackmailing the world that if they don't get their way, that they're going to start building a nuke. We got a lot of things happening out there in the world, friends. Let's jump right into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are news stories that are brushed under the rug by and large by the mainstream media, but I know that they're important to you guys and important to all of us as we look at the world and go, what in the world is happening? Where did our country go? In South Los Angeles, Costco, yes, that's right, Costco, is building an 800-unit apartment complex integrated with its neighborhood Costco. They wanted to build a store, and basically democratic red tape in the state of California, Los Angeles, and municipalities there made it impossible for them to build their own store. So, in a workaround, they decided that they would build an apartment building, 800 units of apartments, in order for them to be able to build their store. Basically, 2/3 of it has to be apartments, and 1/3 of it can be other things. So in order to get their full-size store, they calculated up how many apartments they'd have to build in order to build their store. But doesn't this bring up like sci-fi kind of things in your mind where these corporations, not only do they sell you your food, but they also provide your housing and your insurance, and they're kind of a one-stop shop for everything, and they basically become essentially like a government. And with Costco running this apartment complex, that's kind of scary, isn't it? I mean, do you need a Costco membership in order to rent an apartment there? What happens if you don't go into Costco enough? What happens if you buy stuff at the wrong store? It just opens up a whole bunch of questions. And shame on the Democrats over in California putting up so much red tape that these kind of stupid workarounds are necessary. They have an obvious housing shortage out there, and the goal of their laws was not to get mega stores like Walmart and Costco to build housing, but that's what it's turning into. This warped, twisted nightmare just keeps on going deeper, just as Alice in Wonderland is just one insane episode after the next. It seems with these guys in power, it's one insane episode after the next. All the veterans getting kicked out of hospital and getting kicked out of the hotels up in New York, sent out onto the streets so that the illegals can get those rooms because they're being paid for by the government. Kicked out of the homeless centers so that they can make way for people who aren't even supposed to be here. One insane thing after the next. Let's go over to Rome real fast. Their anti-crime units, like their SWAT teams, broke down the door and charged into the home of a journalist for posting stuff against unregulated and unlimited migration. He wants rules and enforcement. But of course that made him racist, and they took his computers, his phone, and took away his access to Twitter. He now doesn't have access to his Twitter account because they took that as well. And, this is just, can't even defend himself in the public sphere because he's gotten his voice taken away from him. And over in France, similar things are happening. The Islamists over there they've gotten to critical mass in certain locations like Paris, where they are now attacking shops of anyone who has been accused of voting conservatively. They're basically outing people. They're going on Twitter and finding these people's addresses and then outing them so that other people can attack them, destroy their shops, so that they can send in false reports to the police, basically what we call swatting here in the United States, calling in false reports, hoping that the heavily armed police show up at the person's house and hopefully they get hurt. This is absolutely insane. There's one instance of Islamists attacking a home. Simply, they broke down the door and came in. Why? Because that home had a French flag. This is France. A French flag flying in France. How dare they? How dare they? How would you like to have your home door kicked in and have not the police, not some sort of agency, but neighbors, concerned neighbors who don't speak your language coming in because you are daring to fly the American flag or the Canadian flag or the Australian flag, for that matter, from wherever you are. Lots of crazy news coming in about all of those things. And then we have Iran starting to demand that, that people stop attacking their commanders in the field. They're demanding that Israel stop assassinating their Iranian Revolutionary Guards. I know it's Islamic Revolutionary Guards, but it's really the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, right? But they have their commanders in Lebanon. They got their commanders in Syria. They got these guys in Iraq and elsewhere where they are stirring up trouble and training terrorists to do terroristic attacks. How to build missiles, how to use those missiles, how to do this, how to do that, how to train your forces to actually perform against real militaries, that type of thing. Well, these guys have been targeted by Israel and the United States, where we just kind of drop something from 5,000 feet on top of their heads. Well, Iran's saying that this will stop or we'll build a nuke. Now, its word out there is that they have enough enriched uranium for 5 to 6 nuclear weapons now, which is very concerning. I mean, they've been saying that they're getting close, and now they're at the point where they have enough for more than one weapon. And they're now saying, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to start building a nuke. They also are demanding that all sanctions on their country come to an end, which that's not going to happen. And Israel's not going to stop targeting the Islamic Revolutionary Guards either, right? They're going to keep dropping stuff on their heads, and there's going to be no end to the sanctions. So what does that mean? Well, if taken at face value, they're going to be building these nukes. Now, I know some of you are like, well, then we just need to go in and we need to drop airstrikes and take out these facilities and take out their capability of making nuclear weapons. It ain't that simple. Our most powerful bunker buster, which is nuclear, we would need to drop multiples of these on a single location in order to even dig down into one of these bunker facilities. We arguably don't have the capability of doing that, and certainly Israel does not have the capability of digging that deep to take out these bunkers. Now, Israel has been working on for many years the problem of how to take these things out. They've done things like training dogs, basically pack them full of explosives and then send them down the ventilation shafts, and the dogs run as far as they can and go as deep as they can before they go kablooey, which is animal cruelty for sure, but they've been practicing and preparing to do some of these things, but it's not going to be an easy thing to actually take out these nuclear facilities. And once you do that, you know they're going to be mad. I mean, like real mad. They're going to do anything that they can to hit back, hit our allies. We also got news out there that there are claims now that Iran is trying to destabilize and take out the government of Saudi Arabia as well as the UAE. So that's kind of scary too. We do not need more destabilization in the Middle East. So like I say, just one episode of nightmare moving to the next episode of nightmare. And it's all kind of coming to a head. And that's what I think a lot of people are seeing out there. that World War III is like right on the horizon. It's just like there's so many different ways we can get there now. So many different simmering problems. North Korea is just simmering. And all it takes is a larger problem in the world that they can then exploit for their use. They can't stay where they are. They don't have enough food there. They've poured everything they have into their military, including all the food that they should be giving to their citizens. They have hundreds of thousands of people in death labor camps. And it's just the people more and more are getting access to the outside world. Just yesterday, or just this week, one person was executed in North Korea for listening to K-pop. If you don't know what K-pop is, it's pop music that comes from South Korea. Okay, it's as bad as it sounds, right? But it's catchy though, right? Anyway, so a person was executed for listening to K-pop. Somehow he got an iPod or something like that up in there and something to play it with, and he was listening to music that was forbidden. But this technology is getting through. People in South Korea continue to send balloons full of technology as well as information up into the north to let them know what's happening down the south, because they get told up in the north that down south it's really bad. Like, you think it's bad up here in North Korea, you should see what's happening down South Korea. It's absolutely insane down there. And when they start getting these glimpses of South Korea as a first world nation, and they don't even have a conception of what that means, that's one of those things that kind of a thought, that kind of information really starts to destabilize things. And that's just North Korea. We got all sorts of places around the world that are just unsustainable the way they are. And then we have this, out there, we have the scientists making flesh for robots. They're trying to make a skin for robots so that the robots can smile at us. This is from the New Scientist, that they're developing a flesh robot capable of smiling that they can plaster on the face, and it's made from human skin cells. Like, they're growing human DNA flesh so they can put it on a robot. Like I said, this is nightmares, right? I mean, like, this is like, they should not be doing that. Like, that is not a good thing to do. At some point, we need to look at our scientists and say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And yet, it's creepy out there. It's getting creepier still. And not only that, but we have this a Swiss-based company is actually growing, using human stem cells. They're growing mini, they call them brainioids. Like, they're these, they're not full-on human brains, but they're basically stem cells that have been triggered to grow into brain cells. And they grow these little mini brains that are not human, but then again, they're using them for computing because it's way more efficient electricity-wise than using regular computers. And how do they get these brains to function? Well, they basically torture them whenever they do the wrong thing, and then they give them rewards when they do the right thing. And these little brains live for about 6 months before they end up dying, and then they just replace them with new brains. And yes, like I said, that's from human stem cells, human DNA. How sentient are these brains? How much of a living thing are they? Do we need to blur this boundary between man and machine so much that we can't even see straight? If you build these little humanoid brains that are definitely not human, what happens when the next company says, well, why don't we push the boundary a little further and make the brains a little more developed so they can do more? They can be a little more efficient. They can do a little more computing. At what point do we draw the line and say that's absolutely insane? I think we've crossed the line personally, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. So we got absolute insanity happening over in Europe. We got insanity happening over in Iran. We got insanity happening in California, where it's just like we're moving into a sci-fi dystopian universe, and it seems like nobody's pumping the brakes at all. And this is even without us going into World War III. This is even without a major catastrophe. We are basically self-destructing Western civilization by doing all the things that we shouldn't do and not doing the things that we should. All right, friends, that's what's happening out there. Hopefully these type of updates are useful to you, giving you a lot of quick hits on what's going on out there in the world. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and we'll keep moving forward. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.